Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with my friend, Andy Blythe. And when I met Andy, I was like, oh, I love this energy. We kind of hit it off. And, I've been in the energy healing world since the early 90s. And so the truth is, when people talk about modalities, I've probably heard of it. Like I just that many road miles. It doesn't mean I know anything about it, but heard of it. So when Andy started talking to me about the Magi, I was like, ooh, all right, tell me more. So I just want to introduce you, Andy. Tell us a little bit about you, and then let's jump into the Magi stuff.
Well, I love it. Thank you for first and foremost, Christina. This is just such an honor. You are somebody that I just I admire. I love what you do. I love what you create. I love how you have helped me with my essence branding through astrology. That was our initial connection. So I'm Andy Blythe, or Andrea Blythe, and I'm the creator of Let Love Rise. And I teach people how to free themselves from stories that no longer serve, how to get unstuck from the replay tape that is in our mind. And I do this through what I call the 4 pillars, which are the moon, music, mindset, and then the Magi. And that's when people are always like, okay, you mean magic? Well, I think the Magi is kind of magic, but what the what the Magi is a standard deck of playing cards is more than what we believe it to be. Like you might know standard deck of cards from playing Go Fish, Crazy Eights, War, or whatever, games, poker, whatever. And the initial creation of the standard deck of cards actually has its roots way back in ancient Egypt, if not even before then, in Atlantean times, where it was indeed a calendar. A calendar, just like when we look at the beautiful pyramids at Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza and all these places, they're lovely pyramids, but they are a solar calendar. So just to give you a little insight, like, okay, how is a deck of cards a calendar? Well, how many weeks are in a year?
52.
Thank you very much. How many cards are in a standard deck of cards?
52.
Okay, and how many days are in a year? Right, there's 365 days. And if you count from the ace to the king in all 4 suits and add up all of those numbers, you come up to 364, not 365. Because fun fact, December 31st is the one day out of the year, that's the Joker card, where there is, if you are born on December 31st, you are the one wild card of the year. You actually do not have a birth card or a planetary ruling card. There are 4 seasons in a year. There are 4 suits in a deck, and the suits correspond both to the seasons. So we have it would start with hearts representing spring season, and then the clubs are representing our summer, our blooming of life. Then comes the diamond, which is like our fall period, and then the wisdom of the spades is our winter. So it kind of goes that way. But another way to think about the 4 suits of the deck is that hearts represent our first 13 years of our life, like how we are introduced to love, right? So hearts, when you have a heart card, for example, Christina, we just looked up your card, and your birth card is the 9 of clubs, but you also have a planetary ruling card. So being born as a Cancer, your moon card. So it's all there's so many overlaps with astrology. It's awesome. I love it when the worlds collide and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like another tool in the tool belt. But a heart, somebody who has a heart, like a heart card, it is a card of love and of relationships and foundation and family. And jacks have to do with creativity and initiation into the higher realms of spirituality, which is kind of cool. Then we move into the club period of our life, and club is all about, I think of clubs as a very Mercurian very Gemini. It's the mind. It is when we are in that next 13 years of our life, say, it is looking at how we acquire information, how we seek knowledge, and how we want to learn and grow and absorb. And some people, again, your other card is the 9 of clubs. So you also have this club spirit of like acquiring knowledge and learning and wanting to know more. And again, and communication is a part of that too, and how we disperse our information. And then after the club period comes the diamonds period in our life, and diamonds is when we are making money. Okay, now we've done all this, like we're going to make money. How are we like our finances, and definitely rules over our values and our finances. So anybody who has a card in the diamond, it's more in that field. And then finally there's spades, and spades is a very spiritual card, but it is also about our work and our health, like our careers and our health, because as the 4th suit in the deck, as we gain in wisdom, perhaps our bodies might tend to break down a little bit, and health gets a little bit more on the forefront. So, so that's just kind of an introduction, that the cards are really, it really is a calendar. And quadrating the deck, it's mind blowing. I mean, that's like, I don't want to say, like, I could go on and I probably will, but that's like the introduction. So in your
It's
pocket, it's
amazing.
more than waiting for, your pizza at the pizza parlor and having fun with a deck of cards, but it is indeed a way to understand ourselves better, our soul purpose, that is our birth card, and how we are here to shine, and what our challenges are, that our soul has chosen to work through in this lifetime, the karma that we bring in. It's all in the cards. It's
See,
beautiful.
it's so cool because when you were talking about that, it's like, okay, I see the astrology, I see the
Mhm.
tarot, I see
Yes.
some of these other things
Modality.
that are
Mhm.
tying into it so nice and neat. And you know when you started telling me about what these cards based on my
Yeah.
birthday, that's the
Yeah.
other thing that I like about this. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I am an astrology girl to the core.
Yes.
And one of the things with astrology is like you can get a ton of great information with no birth time. And there are some
Yeah.
people who, for whatever reason, uh,
Don't.
don't know their birth time.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I'm really liking about this is like with the simple deck of cards and no birth time necessary, you can get a lot of beautiful information. And when
So
we
true.
first did it, and I told you that my birthday was June 21st, and then so that's a cuspy birthday. I'm born at
Yeah.
0 degrees, 20 minutes Cancer. So literally, if I
You're
would
like
have been
so
born,
first second it.
I'm like
Yeah.
such on the cusp. And then my moon, believe it or not, is at Scorpio 0, 5 minutes. Like literally, my
Wow.
soul was like not coming in until you have these exact.
Wow. Ooh, that gives me chills too, because not a normal, but somebody who doesn't have the astrological knowledge that you have, or have had a astrological birth chart done. It's really important to know that information, because it changed your reading, specifically June 21st being a cusp birthday between the two signs. But you're like, no, but I'm a Cancer. And I was like, well, the typical Gemini card, that is not. So I overrid what is written in the book. It's like, that you're a Cancer and you resonate with that because you're a Cancer. As we know, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and that's what I love about that. This system is the same system, where it's like the moon, all the planets have a certain influence, but your moon card happened to be the Jack of Hearts instead of your Mercury card, and that
Well,
changes.
I do resonate. My chart ruler is
Mm,
in my chart ruler, which is Venus, is in Gemini. And for a good chunk of my life before I'd be able to start casting charts on the
yeah,
computer,
yeah,
like I thought I was a Gemini, right?
yeah.
Because that's how it always fell out, was as a Gemini with only 20 minutes into Cancer. Like
So,
that's what I thought that I was. And yet for me, finding that out, in many ways there was a greater awareness, right?
hmm,
Like, of course, I've presented as Gemini, and I've also have these beautiful Cancerian
Mm.
qualities. The cosmic mother. I honestly been called something along those lines for
Yeah.
most of my life. There's this like nurturing kind of energy, and
That
so
moon energy.
my
Yeah.
it's great energy, and so I just love. I guess for me, knowing the astrology
Mhm.
and then having my reading from you, I was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is super legit. Like
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
presenting is really legit because I already know this. And I'm not saying people have to know this. I'm just saying for my Gemini mind, right? My
Yes. Yes.
like having I guess, you could call it two witnesses or your double blind study, which
Yeah.
I know all these science people are not liking that at all, but to me, this is science. So
It is. They call
good.
it the card science
Mhm.
because it is, and it has a movement like I'm gonna show you real quick on my wall here, the cards.
Oh,
There's a spiritual spread and there's a life spread, but this one over here, this is the one that moves. This is like perfect order, the
uh-huh.
spiritual spread. And we all know that we don't live in a world of perfect order, but there is an actual, I love the word that you use, science. There sort of is a science to this. And I mean, the stars, I mean, we know that there's a science to that, and it's an ever expanding as our minds are growing and we're understanding more of these, but these planets and these luminaries that have guided us for ever,
Right.
and now like we could see, like I love the tangibility of just really being able to get my hands in and to quadrate the deck and see like, oh, okay, well, how does this move for next year? Because that's the other thing about these cards of destiny is that every on our solar return, we get a new deck of cards. We all get these 5 card players that are overlooking your year ahead, that just say, okay, here's where your focus is going to be. Here's where a challenge that you're going to work through this year, but here's going to be the result to that if you lean into it. Because there are times where you look at your cards and you're like, oh shit. Here we go. Right? Like eclipse season, where it's like, okay,
100%.
as an Aries rising right now, and I've got
Mhm.
Libra in the 7th house. I'm like buckling up and just like, oh, okay, I'm going through this portal. I'm going through this portal. But this stuff helps you to understand this is your challenge. This is the result. This is going to be your blessing this year. And then this is kind of what you are owing something to this year. So we get 5 cards every year that like kind of give you an idea of what energies you're working with right now. And I think that for me, that's where it takes the astrology like next level for me, is that I can have the big overview, and then this is like the practical personal to me, to you, like this is
Mhm.
what you're working through. And then it's broken down into 7 52 52-day sequences that start with your Mercury 52-day period, and then your Venus, and then your Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, right? And same things that they represent in astrology. Like Saturn is a tough planet and energy sometimes. And every year we have a Saturn period, 52 days of our Saturn period. And within those Saturn days, there's a cards that rule over that period specifically, but also but overall, like this is your Saturn influence for this year. And then you can do, the 7 year, the 13 year, the lifetime. There's so much to it, but I just think like I mean, you and I are soul sisters, and we both like whatever we can get for our spiritual tool belt that's just going to help us understand better, like, oh, this is why I came here. This is what I'm working through. And then this is also my gifting to others. Right?
Mhm.
I feel like some of our biggest challenges, those are the things that are teaching us and showing us how to love ourselves, and then how to shed a light and help other people heal that part of their story or that part of their life. So
100%. Yeah. Those places where we're wounded or where we have tough experiences where we got to figure things out, that gives us deep compassion.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much learning.
Yeah.
And I keep asking, hey, I'd really like to start learning some things in ease and flow. That'd be
Yeah.
really great. And I also am very grateful for the things that have been challenging and what I have learned from
Mhm.
them. This is
Right.
so powerful. So
Yeah.
I want to just, when somebody works with you, you do have these four pillars. When somebody goes to your retreats, you've
Yeah.
got these four pillars. But every time somebody works with you, you've got these four pillars. So can
Yeah.
you just really briefly talk about the other three M's?
Absolutely. So the moon, of course, the moon is just for me, the moon has shown me my humanity and the fact that we are always evolving and changing. We are not stagnant. You know, the sun is our steady source of light and heat and drive. And it's like, here I am. But the moon is like all over the place and waxing and waning. And my goodness, it was eclipse yesterday, that penumbral eclipse in Libra. And it just, for me, the moon is more relatable because obviously the moon does rule over our emotional bodies, but there's something about it also as a woman and it representing the feminine, the divine feminine, where if you look at least in our culture, by and large, there are other cultures where it's reversed, where the moon is masculine, the sun is feminine. But here, my interpretation of it really has this feminine energy, this motherly energy, where I am a mom of three teenagers, almost one 20-year-old. So the moon, I host moon circles. I do new moon guided visualizations, and full moons. I have a class called Spirit Flow, where I incorporate the second pillar, which is music. For me, I mean, the moon has just, I could just go and sit under the light of the moon and talk to the moon and and feel seen and heard by the ever-changing energy of it, how quickly it moves. But the music is the second pillar. And in that Spirit Flow class, I incorporate music. I make a playlist every month on Spotify. It's Andrea Blythe on Spotify. And these playlists are all ways of, one, reminding me of my story and where I've been, because I think that there is power. I mean, I know that there is power in our stories. I'm a storyteller and a writer, and I've written my entire life. But like, there could be a song that you haven't heard in forever, and it comes on and it immediately brings you back to a time and a place and an era. When memory is triggered, there is something in that for us, and whether we want to unpack it in the moment or unpack it later, it's triggering a memory to serve us along on our journey. And so for me, music, I try to find songs that not only just speak to me, but that will help people move the energy through them. During my divorce and some of my darkest days, my most beautiful and healing moments all surrounded music, and dancing in my kitchen, and letting sometimes I'm dancing joyfully, and sometimes it might be more of an ecliptic type where you're just like, I'm just crying, and that's okay. It's like, this is time. But the energy, what the bottom line is, music helps move the energy through us and helps us feel it completely. And the other part about music, it is global. Every culture around the world has music as a way, like, there is something fundamental in us as human beings where we connect with one another. I mean, I just came out of Tree Fort, where I lived for 5 days, and there's something so powerful about those performers who get up there and they do that call and response, and they get people in the audience sharing and raising the vibration. And oh my goodness, doing this in an outdoor concert in Boise, Idaho, where we can see that moon waxing on, it was unbelievable. So music. I'm a big fan of music, and I do have one very special playlist that there's only one that I have private, and it's called my Chiron Healing. And I just think it's important to talk about that right now before I get into the third pillar, because the eclipse that's coming in 2 weeks on April 8th is going to be an exact conjunction, like hanging out in the sky with Chiron, the wounded healer. And for me, uh I'm having my Chiron return. So we all have our Chiron return between ages 49 and 51. Is that
Mhm. Yeah,
accurate?
what do you know what degree your Chiron is at there in
My
Aries?
Chiron is at 19. 19.
Oh,
It's and
so
the
it is exact. So
eclipse.
I just wanna say something really quick here.
Yes.
If you were born between 1970 and 1973,
Hmm.
there's a good chance that it's gonna be very, very close. Mine isn't exact, but it's very close. And
Yes.
so because that's a generational wound,
Yeah.
we're gonna be feeling that. Us
Yes.
like mid-Gen Xers, we're feeling that. Okay?
Yes.
We're feeling that.
We
So
are
keep
feeling
going.
that. And I've created a playlist for people who are in a grief phase. And specifically, my playlist was built out of my divorce. I chose the 35 songs that moved me through, that were the constant ones that I would listen to, like when I was in certain areas of it. So that is something that I just offer to everybody for free. It's called Chiron Healing, or 35 songs to move you through grief. And I can share that with your people if people want to experience music to, and there's a little bit on grief and how, like, to identify where you are and where you're at the stages. But for me, like you said, I'm a 73 baby, so it's huge for me, and I am healing a really painful love story. I was married for 20 years, and wasn't my high school sweetheart, but it goes deep. So more than half of my life has been spent with this other person, and I'm still coming out of that. I'm 4 years out of it. I still feel the pain. And so I know, this Chiron eclipse is shifting things, and we always need things to be removed. And that's, again, the reminder of the moon. The moon is like, okay, now let's take this away, and now let's grow something new, and let's take this away. And so that's what this eclipse is. So I'm not offering any moon circles currently. I did an equinox event, and I'll probably pick them back up again in May. But I'm just allowing space for my own healing right now, because it's a big story. It's a big chapter. And then mindset. So moon, music, mindset. And mindset, I have a program upcoming it's a 4-week program called the Spirit of the Phoenix. And it is a group mindset coaching circle. And I felt really, really compelled to have this one live. I'm going to do a virtual version of it in May for people who are not located here in Boise. But this one, there was something, it's like, I wanted to have a community of people to come together in a safe space and talk about our vision for ourselves. Like, what week 1 is on vision. Week 2 is looking at fear, the limiting beliefs. How do we take back control over the fear? Or more importantly, it's just recognizing fear, but finding how do we courageously move through fear. That is such a big one, part of getting unstuck. So that's week 2. Week 3 is about following our bliss, finding the things that fill us up, and how do we feel it in our bodies, because our bodies are like the biggest signal of how we're doing. Are we in alignment? Do we have that ease and flow, like you said, right? Like the lessons, it's okay to ask for gentler lessons. I'm learning that. It's like, okay, the universe had to hit me with a brick upside the head, and like, I've been there, done that. Like, I prefer, like, I want to keep learning, but let's do it gentler. Let's get in touch with our bodies. And then week 4 is about surrendering and allowing space for the universe to dream even bigger than we can possibly dream. So that's called Spirit of the Phoenix. That's my mindset group circle that I have. I also do one-on-one called Living Aligned, mindset coaching. And then the Magi. And so what I find is, whenever I'm teaching, like, these 4 will just kind of, they're not like, and now I'm going to talk about the moon, and now I'm going to talk. It's not like that. It's just, these are the 4 things that, like, you get me talking about any of these 4 things, and you will see my eyes get bright and sparkly, and I'll just chat away like I'm doing right now.
I Love it.
Yeah.
And we'll put the website, letloverise.com, in
Yes.
the comments so you can definitely connect with Angie. And I just want to, as we're talking and as I hear and know about your offerings, and you
Mhm.
hear and know about my offerings, and our circles like converge, and that I I just want to acknowledge us for doing business in the new way, the new
Yes.
way where I know you run moon circles, and so do I. And guess what? There are the perfect people for you, and there are the perfect people for me. And there's enough to go around. This, Andrea, is what wakes me up in the morning is I want to figure out how
Yes.
we do business in the new way, in the new earth, in a place where we are supported and able
Mm.
to thrive, and we're not constantly in competition or
Yep.
trying to pull somebody else down, or oh, I better not, like, aren't you just done with that?
I
Like,
am
I never really
so
think that
yes.
way. I have gotten stuck in that a little bit just through,
Yeah.
because of how we live, because that's how humanity is. And it's been so refreshing over the last 4 years to just completely step out of that.
Mm. Make space for everyone. And the other thing that just popped into my mind when you said that is like, yes, there might be times, like I said right now, like I'm not running anything in April. And how lovely is it for me to know that I could go to one of Christina's moon circles and I can just receive. I can get everything that I want from somebody. I'm not and I think a lot of that is mindset, this new earth, this new paradigm, this new way of collaborating is that if we have a mindset of there is more than enough. I mean, the abundant world that we live in, I'm looking at this tree in my front yard that is just blossoming and like I would not be able to count all the buds on it. And that is just one tree in one corner of one neighborhood in one city, and like we can go on and on and on and on about that. The abundance is there, the amount of teachers who are just going to be bringing light, like there's no competition in my book. There's absolutely no competition whatsoever. And when we find ourselves in that space of competition or jealousy or whatever, that is a lower vibration and we will feel it in our bodies, and that will get selected out, if we want to be in that higher octane, like that higher vibration, and we're going to be there. You're going to attract the people who are feeling the same way about you, and then other people they're going to select out, and they're going to take their own journey, and we bless them all on their way, because there is so much space for everybody to bring their creative gifting, because you and I, yes, we're both astrologers, but your lens and again, like your cards are different from my cards, and that matters, because how you like your perception and your way of teaching through your life story is unique to you, and there are people that absolutely need to hear it from Christina's mouth. And there are people that need to hear it from Andy's or from whoever's, like, right. There's like, let's just
Yeah,
raise the vibration collectively. You know,
let's do it.
let's just,
Nature is naturally abundant, and if we are a part of
yes.
nature, which we are, and as we work on deprogramming ourselves and living more in nature, more in the
Ugh,
beautiful cycles of the seasons, and
yes.
the solar and the lunar, and like the macro cycles and the Saturn cycle, like macro
Yeah.
cycles, and then the micro cycles. As
Yeah.
we do that, like, life is abundant. There
Yeah.
is, and I just am so grateful for people like you who are bringing so much love and light into this world, and to whose events I love to go, and I want to, like, I can be nurtured by
Yeah.
your offering, and
Exactly.
sometimes it's really nice to be
There's
nurtured.
time for that. There's time for that. It's
Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. We want Mama Moon to, nurture us too sometimes,
Yes.
and just
Oh,
not,
I love it. So
yeah.
letloverise.com, that's
Yes.
the best way to reach Andy,
Yeah.
and just want to thank you for spending this time with me. And
Gosh,
I've
it was
been
a
really
pleasure.
excited to introduce you to my people.
Oh my gosh, it's been such a pleasure. I love your light and your soul. And I the first thing that I noticed when we came on today, I'm always looking for signs from the universe. You're wearing my blue butterfly necklace. And that is like a symbol of one of my angels. So I appreciate that. I've always got my butterfly with me too. So I love that connection right from the beginning. It's just like it's such a joy to get to know you personally, but to work alongside you professionally and to collaborate with you. I look forward to many more adventures
Mm,
together.
as
Yeah.
do I. Thank you so much. It's been just beautiful. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you.